Let's break down 4 law firm business principles you probably don't know about, and then explain what they look like and how to start to work through optimizing each one of them. They will skyrocket your growth as a law firm once you get them under your belt. Now, you'll see in front of me here, I have something we call our lead conversion machine. The 4 key business principles we're going to go through today are going to be revolving around this. We're very big on lead conversion. So once we've generated leads, how do we make sure we're maximizing the conversion of those leads? And so the first one is something we call set rate. If I asked you right now, what is your set rate on average? Do you have an answer for that? If I asked you what's your set rate last month, do you have an answer for that? Set rate is the number of prospects that set an appointment divided into the total number of qualified leads. Why is this statistic important? First and foremost, how are we doing on the front-facing part of our law firm? We've done all of this work to generate leads. Likely you're either working via just referrals, or you're investing in marketing and advertising, and you're using maybe an agency to go out and generate you leads, or maybe you're doing direct mail. Regardless, you're putting in all of this effort to generate leads. That's great, but what happens next is much more important, because if we can't consistently generate those leads into set appointments, they don't mean all that much. Without that lead taking any action, there's not much that we can do to move them forward. So by going through our set rate, we're able to identify how well are our phone/appointment setting directives being addressed. Is our phone room, is our appointment setting process converting where it's supposed to be converting, or is there opportunity there? And I will tell you that for most firms, varying by practice area, what we deem as successful is being able to consistently convert 65 to 85% of your qualified lead into set appointments. If you're not yet in that range, that's okay. That means there's opportunity there. And so now we have to start diagnosing, why is our set rate off? And there's a variety of reasons our set rate may be off. Maybe the lack of a structure, system, and process in place is component A of what could be causing a lack of optimization in our set rate. Another huge one that we see is law firm owners don't yet have a solution for the phone. The majority of leads for most law firms still come in via phone call. If we don't have the phones figured out, aka making sure we actually have a person for the phones, that too is going to cause an issue, which means at any point, at any day, that phone rings, you got to be available to answer it. Otherwise, you're likely losing that opportunity. So the other reason we see a lack of optimization is B, because if you're the owner and you're picking up that phone, you're usually between whatever you're doing and you're trying to do it quickly on the fly, and you're not using any system or structure. So it's really causing an issue when it comes to your set rate. So you have to try to find a dedicated appointment setter. Once you've got the lead flow to justify this, you need someone that's dedicated to the phones and they're following a set structure and system. That's the only way you're going to be able to fix your set rate and your show rate. Your show rate is the number of people that show up to their set appointment compared to the number of appointments that were set. The reason this is such an important statistic is because you've invested time, money, and resources to get these leads. It's frustrating if all of a sudden that appointment doesn't show up. Varying per practice area, I would tell you show rate should also, on average, fall somewhere between 65 and 85%. For most firms that are doing it right, it's closer in many cases to 70 to 90%, depending on your firm and depending on how well you're optimizing. The common reasons we see for no shows is we don't have strong reminder sequences, we're not setting the right expectation during the appointment, maybe we're not doing any sort of pre-call or anything to confirm them, they completely forgot about it, they've already retained another firm. The other issue that we see is common is how far out we're booking an appointment. If we're booking a week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, you're going to create a show rate issue. So the way you fix those is you make sure you have enough capacity on the calendar. So if the law firm owner is still the one running consults and you're tapped by just your capacity, maybe it's time to look into adding an attorney or non-attorney salesperson if you have the lead flow and appointments to justify it. The other thing is making sure you do put strong reminder sequences in place. You are setting the right expectation for next steps on that appointment setting call, and you're getting that prospect prepared. All right. First is set rate. Second is show rate. The third one is hire rate, aka close rate. Out of the number of prospects that show up to their appointment, how many of them are actually taking the next step and retaining the firm? So hire rate is a very important statistic. I'm not going to say it's more important than either of the two I just mentioned, but I'm also going to give you a wink and say it's just about more than important than the two I just gave you. Why? Because hire rate is the one percentage that directly impacts your cash as a law firm. The more clients you're able to retain means the more cash flow that's coming in, the more revenue that's being generated, the more gross sales that's being generated. Where should your hire rate be as a law firm? After working with over 1,000 law firms, I can tell you that the firms that are doing it right have a hire rate varying by practice area somewhere between 60 and 80%. They're consistently turning 60 to 80% of the appointments that show up into clients of the firm. The reason that I see most firms go sideways with hire rate is they don't have a system or structure in place. There's not a script. Sometimes I speak to some law firm owners and they say, I got a general framework. But a general framework means there's room to change and there's room for creativity. And although creativity is great, creativity when it comes to running consultations is not great. What we want is boring. We want boring because boring gets results. Boring means we're passing every consultation through the same structure every single time. And as a result of that, we're able to add consistency to our results, because now, rather than having wild swings in our results, and some weeks we turn 80% of our appointments into clients, now, because we're passing everybody through the same exact structure every single time, we're consistently converting about 60 to 80% of our appointments into paying clients. You have to have a system. You've got to have a structure in place. As a result of that, you've now built dependability into your sales process, aka the number one thing that you could instantly increase your cash flow. If you just simply turn more of your set appointments into clients, you've just, in many cases, skyrocketed your growth. I will tell you, for most of the law firms we meet with, on average, when they first start with our program and I meet with them, they have a 33.7% hire rate. And I said we should be able to achieve between 60 and 80%. They've literally, in many cases, doubled their business by just converting more of their appointments into paying clients. So hire rate / close rate is a metric you need to know, and you've got to have a good grasp on. All right, the last number I want to tell you is your collection / your realization rate. And what this is measuring is the number of dollars you're collecting compared to the gross sales dollars you sold. How much money are you collecting on average compared to the total sales dollars you sold? And this is important because just like we said with hire rate, you can instantly add cash to the firm. The same thing goes with realization rate. If you started collecting more of the outstanding dollars that were out there, you're literally sitting on a gold mine of cash. You just have to collect it. Now, why do many firms struggle with this? They either don't have one person dedicated to managing the collections process and ensuring you're collecting on all of the money you're supposed to be due. They don't have a structure in place for how to run that conversation and how to adequately communicate with your clients to ensure you're getting paid on time, whether it's hourly, flat fee, and whether there's payment plans. Many firms don't necessarily even have rules of engagement for that, which makes it challenging to manage all of the plans. This creates an issue with collections. You've done all of this work to generate leads, to get that lead to set an appointment, to show up, retain the firm. And now they've retained the firm and you're left with outstanding dollars. We have to continue doing the work to make sure we're collecting those dollars. I'd like to show you a live example of why this is important. You guys heard me say this. Some of you have even connected in the moment. You said, oh, that's me. I don't know that number. Or, oh yeah, that number is off. Or wow, I do have an opportunity there. So on the screen here, we have what I would consider to be an average firm that comes to us when they first meet with us. They have about 100 qualified leads a month. 70 of them set an appointment. 50 of them show up. 20 of them retain the firm at an average case value of $2,500. That means the firm's doing about $600,000 a year in revenue. Some of you may be lower than this. Some of you may be higher than this. What matters is the percentages. So that's what represents the change for you. This bottom line number here is going to be different for each of your firms depending on where you're at. What matters is the percentages, because if we can go from a $200,000 firm to a $400,000 firm by not increasing lead flow at all, wouldn't you want in on that? If you can go from a $600,000 firm to a $1 million firm without increasing lead flow? I would assume the answer is yes. So this is a 70% set rate. On average, that's not a bad set rate, but there's probably room for about a 10% swing. We move the needle 10%. We go from a 70% set rate to a 77% set rate. We go to a 79% show rate. We go from a 40% close rate to a 44% close rate. I will tell you, making some very conservative jumps in these metrics makes a very big impact. Most firms think that in order to grow their practice, they have to increase their lead flow because their lead conversion machine isn't optimized. So there's this optical illusion that they think if I increase lead flow, I'll increase the number of clients that retain the firm, assuming your other metrics remain the same because you just added a bunch of leads. If we fix our lead conversion machine, when we do decide to invest in more leads and we do increase our marketing efforts again, now you're maximizing the conversion of those. This is what adds rocket fuel to your law firm. This is the dirty little secret behind business in your law firm. If you get these numbers right, these numbers dictate the destiny of your law firm. And many firms don't even know what these numbers are initially, which is okay if that's where you're at. But I hope this video helped you unpack and see the opportunity that lies right in front of you. You don't have to invest in more marketing to make this happen. So if this video did help you out, make sure to drop a like down below. Don't forget to subscribe, turn those bell notifications on, and go ahead and write me some comments. Let me know if you've experienced this personally and firsthand and what it's done for your practice. Appreciate you watching.